Hi, welcome to the final stretch of the class. The heaviest workload is behind you now, so that's kind of encouraging. Module 6 is actually the lightest module, which is why you'll see these dual deadlines. So your BMA assignment, your final submission of that is due this week, and you've got just one discussion and one quiz, and then a final reflection or a reflection besides that BMA, and that's so that you can dive right into your final paper. A few notes about those extra points is that these extra points are only for if you turn that final paper in on Saturday, June 25th, this Saturday at midnight. The last part of your BMA is also set for Saturday, but that is not included on the 2 extra points. A few things that are really important as you sort of work through that is to make sure that you, if you do use any resources, please cite them properly. You can either use Chicago style or MLA for your paper, and there's a link to the DeWitt Learning Center that has a writing guide and a number of citation tools that you can use. My personal preference is to use Zotero, but that's a bit of a learning curve if you've never used it. So I would just recommend those citation tools, which are on that link on the Module 7 page. Another thing, besides citing properly, which this should go without saying, however, this has actually been an issue in the class, is you can't use another student's work. That's plagiarism, so please don't do that. I don't want to have to file an academic report for that, so let's just not do that. In terms of week 7, you're going to see that this is a totally different weekly rhythm. There are 2 sort of assignments left on that last module, which is a final discussion forum that's more open-ended. I'll post that so you can do that ahead of time, as well as your final biblical story paper. A few of those paper tips. One thing to start with is, do you have a copy of your Bernard Anderson's The Unfolding Drama of the Bible? Because you need that one immediately. You either can buy that book, or maybe you have to go onto Kindle, but you got to order that. You can't do this final assignment without reading that particular book. And the nice thing about it is it's readable and it's short. You can do it in 1 or 2 sittings. I've done it actually in about 2 sittings, so just to kind of absorb it. So that gives you an idea of sitting with the content. Before you sort of start reading Anderson, I would first go to where those guidelines are posted, and please carefully read and reread through those directions. That way you kind of know where's your end game. Like, this is what's expected of you, and those videos as well as the book sort of help provide a guideline. And that guideline, you might have to kind of go back and forth between reading the guidelines and watching the videos in the book. And those videos actually also are really important and have tips for that. It's going to take a few readings, but you actually have everything equipped to write this final paper, especially if you consult those guidelines multiple times before you engage in the paper. Professor Vandenberge has embedded tips and tricks in those videos, and so it's worth your while to make sure to go through those. You will not receive 2 additional bonus points just simply by turning in something on Saturday. You have to follow those guidelines. It has to be clear that you've done the work ahead of time. You can't just turn something in. So that's not going to get you those points. You're going to feel perhaps the challenge of this last assignment. And when it's done, I hope that you appreciate just sort of what you've accomplished. And it's something that Christians rarely do, or people in religious circles, which is sort of look at the bigger picture of the Bible. And sometimes I think it's important that we step back and look, not just look at specific verses or in Bible studies, but at really much more larger concepts. This paper will definitely make you a biblical scholar, which you already are a budding biblical scholar, as Vandenberge so often says. But I'm excited to read what you write. And as a final note, I know that the paper writing process is often, well, for me, it's a very chaotic process. And so something that helps is this particular prayer, which a seminary professor shared with me, and I'll share it with you as well. It was one that actually St. Thomas Aquinas frequently used, and he would recite this before he would either dictate or write or preach. And so any of his academic work, he would often engage in this. And I think it's a poem, but it's a really lovely prayer to think about as you engage in the sort of chaotic back and forth spiritual discipline process of paper writing. And it begins, Ineffable creator, who from the treasures of your wisdom has established 3 hierarchies of angels, has arrayed them in marvelous order above the fiery heavens, and have marshaled the regions of the universe with such artful skill. You are proclaimed the true font of light and wisdom, and the primal origin raised high beyond all things. Lord, pour forth a ray of your brightness into the darkened places of my mind. Disperse from my soul the twofold darkness into which I was born, sin and ignorance. You make eloquent the tongues of infants. Refine my speech and pour forth upon my lips the goodness of your blessing. Grant to me keenness of mind, capacity to remember, skill in learning, subtlety to interpret, and eloquence in speech. May you guide the beginning of my work, direct its progress, and bring it to completion. You who are true God and true human, who live and reign world without end. Amen. Looking forward to reading those. And your last video, I will film in Israel for you. So that'll be kind of fun, which will show not only what my favorite verse is, but also where it's at. So excited to do that. Excited to be on this journey with you. I will be flying next Tuesday morning quite early. So you'll probably start to see, I'll be checking email at weird times. So do kind of keep that in mind. But I'm certainly much more available. I'll try to be available every day between now and then. So keep that in mind. Excited to read your work, and really, just as a final note, really grateful to be on this learning journey with you. It's been such a joy and really a humble pleasure to be able to be on this with you. So thanks.